Welcome back to another press conf speaker behind the scenes update. I don't have a title yet for this working series as it goes, but we're going to figure it out as we go. Today's special guest, Anthony Ferrara. Anthony, welcome to press conf.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
For those of you watching before the event, hopefully you have your ticket. You can buy your ticket at pressconf.events. PressConf kicks off on April 8th through the 11th in Tempe, Arizona, and it's a fantastic event, of course. That'll be my second year at PressConf, and went to almost all of them for Pressnomics prior to. It's one of the best events for people who are interested in the business of WordPress and beyond, right? A lot of stuff happening with WordPress these days. WordPress ain't what it used to be, and it continues to evolve, and we continue to get a lot of other technologies, solutions around WordPress, and there'll be people at PressConf for the first time looking at WordPress and trying to understand what's happening in the WordPress economy. April 8th through the 11th, pressconf.events. Buy your tickets. Anthony, what do you do? What's your day-to-day, and how do you touch WordPress in this beloved ecosystem?
Yeah, good question. I've been a designer for 20 years. Started off as a freelancer in my local church, and the very first website I ever built was on WordPress. These days, I'm selling six-figure plus WordPress implementations to big startups, advocating, discipling that WordPress is still relevant in the age of AI. And I run an agency called Oxy. We have we're based here in Phoenix. We help work with clients like Walmart and LinkedIn, but mainly a lot of like seed and Series A startups. Primarily make websites, products, and branding.
You can find Anthony's website at oxy.co, oxy.co. Is that a play on oxygen, like you need us for oxygen to survive?
Yeah, not the prescription drug, a little risky name, but and not the billion-dollar petroleum company, but
Okay.
but yeah, Oxy is oxygen. You take a deep breath when something's stressful, when you've got to solve a big challenge. You want to breathe life into all the work that we do.
Yeah. Lots of folks taking deep breaths these days around WordPress, right? And it's our beloved CMS. It served us well for over 20 years at this point. A lot of folks have deep-rooted businesses, especially design agencies, especially development agencies running WordPress. And as I look around, at least the Twitter AI bubble that I'm in, I see a lot of folks experimenting with other platforms. What makes WordPress great for you? Is it still your leading foundation for client projects, or have you started to experiment with other stuff?
Always experimenting with other stuff, always recalibrating the role of the designer, the web developer. I think we're all trying to figure out what is still true in this world with a lot of people prompting their way to very solid marketing sites and e-commerce sites and products. So more of from a survivalist mentality, like you got to be experimenting with stuff. But your question is basically the genesis of my talk. As the working title is WordPress has a low birth rate problem. And essentially, I still believe in WordPress in so many ways. The community aspect of it is maybe the most distinct open source philosophy. But the reality is I'm on the front lines selling solutions, like advocating for CMSs. And I still fully believe in WordPress when it's built properly. It's just so easy to break. It's so easy to Frankenstein. You'll still have the best authoring experience of any platform, even $1 million sites I've worked on, if built properly. But more often than not, you also get the worst authoring experience of any platform. And there's a lot of things that I've dug into when it comes to that open source philosophy, the inclusivity of WordPress, and the pros and cons of the reputation it has. A lot of marketing CMOs that I have to work with, I have to get on multiple calls to convince them that WordPress is still a viable contender in the space. And I'm hoping to have a hard, meaningful discussion about my perspective being on the front line, trying to keep big companies in the WordPress ecosystem and some of the challenges I'm having, getting them to see the light and really dig into why that may be.
One of the things that I'm sure you see by following AI, maybe potentially even hearing from your clients, is a lot of people saying things like, well, I can I can roll my own CMS, right? I could make my website. I could either just make like a static website, chat to an LLM, throws it up on my hosting, and there you go. That's all I need. If I need to edit content, I'll just talk to it again, and it'll just edit the content, on the page. And then there are those who are a little bit more adventurous, who are starting to experiment with, other platforms, more static generated, come up with their own really unique, like when I push to GitHub, it's going to publish these pages, and I'm going to use that as my repo to, as my editorial system, and that's fine. Here's where I think that there's a particular advantage that a lot of people just haven't seen yet, because not a lot of people have gone over this hump yet. It's when you start to build things with AI, even now, which is getting really good, and even if I forecast at least into the next year or so, even when it gets really good, you're still on the hook for keeping that thing going, whatever that means. It could mean from a hosting perspective, it could mean from a security perspective, it could mean from a feature perspective, it could mean from a design perspective. And then even when the people who really love AI say, well, don't worry, AI is also going to help you with that, it's still going to be asking you, do you want something new? Do you want this feature? There's a security update. Do you want me to patch it? Sure, there's things you can put on autopilot. But what I'm getting at is there's going to be some level of fatigue where even if the AI is doing it for you and knocking on your door, you're going to say, stop knocking on my door. I don't want you to knock on my door. Therefore, WordPress is a fantastic solution because there are thousands of others throughout the world who do the thinking for you. I don't think we've seen that yet with AI. Everyone's so excited, like, look what I can build. It's what comes after that I don't think they've realized, you know what, I'll just use WordPress. Why am I going to sit here and prompt this thing when WordPress just does it for me now? And I think we're going to have like this backwards trend to go, oh yeah, we should have just used WordPress to begin with. What are your thoughts on that long sentiment that I just gave you?
I mean, my hot take is my hot take is that the right platform is whatever works best for the marketing operations team, whatever they're familiar with, whatever reduces the friction for them to publish that blog post, to update their pricing, to add a new product. And what I'm seeing is the younger the marketing leader, the more just like you might as well cuss them out if you were to talk about WordPress. If they're under 35, they do not want to use WordPress almost objectively. I have a couple things in my talk where we work with a lot of Y Combinator startups. Y Combinator is the number one startup accelerator in the world. I have a chart where I looked at the last 4 batches and I found 2 WordPress sites. And even since I did that, they've moved to Webflow or they moved to Framer. And that should be concerning for this community. And I'm not sitting here saying I have all the solutions. I'm just here this is what I'm seeing. I'm a disciple for this community. I volunteer and produce with Raquel WordCamp Designs. We did the branding for PressConf. There's something about this community and this ecosystem and these philosophies of open source that I subscribe to fully. But the friction or the brand reputation of WordPress the only people that want it are marketing leaders that are 35 or older. And the older they are, the more likely they're familiar with WordPress. They hire people that are older. I'm 35 myself, so I'm right there in the middle. And yeah, like the young, ambitious people think they could prompt their way to the promised land. And then the seasoned vets need a platform that they're familiar with, that they're stable, that they can train, that they understand. That's my hot take. And there's a lot of nuances in there, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, let's unpack that. So So you packaging it and framing it in the age demographic, obviously that's going to pique my interest. It's going to pique a lot of interest for folks to go to your talk and definitely sit in the seats to figure out how can they attract or bend to a different demographic. My question to you is it because that age demographic is getting marketed to? Let's just level the floor here. I mean, WordPress doesn't do any marketing. Zero. None. Okay? You're not seeing it on a billboard. You're not seeing it on a Super Bowl ad. You're not seeing it anywhere. It does none, which is also a testament for its adoption for, the 20 plus years that it's been out here, or at least a testament to the community and to the open source nature of it. But do you think the younger crowd is picking the Framer and the Webflows because they're getting marketed to more these types of products? Or is it those are like AI first kind of platforms where the younger crowd is going, you know what, exciting, fast, innovative, that's the platform for me, without even doing the comparison?
Yeah, definitely their Webflow Framer, even the headless CMSs like Sanity and everything are doing you see them across the internet, you hear about them. There's this carrot that you get rewarded for in every company the more you know about the new thing. And I would argue like WordPress is still as easy to stand up a new site. Like I actually went through and like took screenshots of like how many clicks does it take to stand up a new site in Webflow versus WordPress, and it's still comparatively very simple. I think the younger generation does not care as much about the philosophy of open source. They don't mind that they're chained to Webflow or Framer. Um, there's they're more willing to forego privacy issues, control issues, independence. They're more willing to be chained to like an ecosystem at the cost of being chained to that ecosystem. Whereas WordPress, it feels like they want the big splashy, flashy. We just raised $50 million from Sequoia, and like here it is. And that's the audience that I serve. I know WordPress serves a much bigger audience. I serve the egomaniac wannabe tech billionaire kind of crowd.
Yeah.
So I'm very biased when it comes to wanting to get them.
And I was going to say, like, if you look at a VC list, I mean, those are, 2 out of X amount of sites that you mentioned before. I mean, you're not going to hear WordPress in any of these VC meetings at a local coffee shop in San Francisco. No one's talking about it because it's a culture thing, right? I think, and the Webflows and the Framers, especially Framer, I feel is such a cultural thing where in that culture of startup and VC, like people are just like, yeah, you buy this, you buy this, you buy this because we're raising money. Who cares anyway? Whereas WordPress is much more of like that grassroots organic where those people come in and they go, we got no money. We're not getting money. We have no money now. Let's use the free thing that we have available to us, right? Aside from hosting, which is palatable for most people. So yeah, no, it makes total sense. I think, we're at a pivotal moment right now in WordPress where WordPress 7 is coming. It'll be out, hopefully, knock on wood, by the time you and I are at PressConf. That's going to lay the groundworks for some of the AI stuff in WordPress. And at minimum, it's the API key connector page, which is going to have, as far as what I saw last time, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google. So it's sort of like WordPress saying, okay, here's step 1, put your API key in. And then step 2 is going to come in future versions or iterations that happen over time, or from the third-party community. So all of that to say is it's coming, but probably not at the pace that we need it to. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I'm like 50-50. I want this stuff, but I also don't want to rush into it and break something. What do you feel like? Do you, in your day-to-day workflow at Oxy, when you're designing stuff for clients, I mean, do you need AI in WordPress, or is it your clients want AI in WordPress?
I mean, we serve many different audiences. We serve, like, for the enterprise companies, the Walmarts, the LinkedIn's, like, we're very rarely touching we're doing mainly product design. With the startups, the seed and Series A startups, that is mainly what they're coming for. They want to make a splash. They want to disrupt the market. Um, they position themselves to raise the most amount of money possible and get their customers to care. The startups just want speed. They want speed. They want speed more than they want durability and, like, longevity. A lot of
Speed
startups
to
are
market,
redesigning their
right?
site.
Speed to market, not speed of website.
Speed to market, speed to management, speed to updates. Like, they don't want to. With all the plugin architecture with WordPress, like, everyone's just afraid the site will go down. It needs to be babied, and Webflow and Framer, they don't worry about that at all. They know that that's kind of, like, managed with them. There's not an understanding of, like, a managed hosting. What does WP Engine do versus what does hosting a GoDaddy server do? Startups are very technical. There's always a technical founder, but they're working on the product. They're not working on the site. They're understaffed. There's this concept that if I'm not prompting something in Claude or ChatGPT every 10 minutes, I'm doing it the dumb old way. And so I think it's just this perception that their co-founders, their investors want everything to be AI native, and WordPress has a bad reputation when it comes to the plugin chaos and sites going down. They don't, even, and a good example of that is, like, specifically advanced custom fields is amazing. And, if that was owned by WordPress, I think that would solve a lot of problems because it creates that flexibility. And there's a whole part of my talk around that. But I don't know. Those are my.
You're gonna have people waiting out the door to get into your talk. I can already see it.
I mean, I don't know what I don't know. I'm kind of in the community, but out of it.
Sure.
Support it, but I don't know what the takes are within the community. I know what mine are, and they might be wrong, and I might not have the full picture. But I have to twist people's arms to care about WordPress.
Yeah.
And they all want to get off of it, and it's getting worse every single year.
Yeah. Again, I think I go back to at least for that crowd, at least for your audience and your demographic, but also, like, the average agency owner who might be selling to an accountant, a plumber, a small nonprofit or whatever. It's the perception of WordPress, unfortunately, is, the good stuff is outshined by the bad stuff, which is generally, like, it's slow, it gets hacked, it crashes. But those three things are not the fault of, the real technical person might make the argument that, some kind of PHP code or JavaScript inside WordPress is bad. Okay, we're not talking about that. But speed, performance, and, hosting issues are a problem with the host, right? It's either the site was put together wrong, or the host that they picked was just a super cheap value host that didn't really care about keeping the site updated. And over 20 years, all of that feedback, all of the headlines become, the thing you associate WordPress for, and not all the good stuff. Why is that? Because we're not marketing and pushing WordPress from any sort of, like, central place. We've got free WordPress, what I'll call free WordPress, and we've got Automatic and WordPress.com, right? And Jetpack. So now it's just like, where these things merge, and who's going to sort of lead the marketing on why this is, a solution for a YC, back company or something like that. It's unfortunate because a lot of the stuff is just, like, user error more than it is something wrong with WordPress. Believe me, I'll take the slow to innovation all day long argument, and that you can certainly weigh on the shoulders of decision makers and stakeholders in WordPress. But the perception, I think, is a mixed bag. Massive target, biggest CMS in the world by a long shot, and anyone can run it their way. So then it
Right.
becomes this catalyst for chaos.
Yeah, no, I mean, the line that always lands for them is like, WordPress runs, I forget what the number is, 30 to 40% of the internet for a reason.
Yeah.
Because, to not dive on WordPress for at least 5 minutes on this talk and like why I care about the community and why I still advocate for it is because of that flexibility. Is like there's every time I design a site on any other platform, headless CMS, Webflow Framer, you run into the same issues, and it becomes more difficult to unwind. And eventually, they hit a ceiling where that platform can't do something, or if it can, you got to bump up to some insane enterprise version, and it always ends up getting rebuilt at some point. At some point, the founders hire someone with gray hair, and then they move to WordPress. And if they don't, they will never move to WordPress, is what I've seen. But there's a ditch everywhere with all of these platforms. And I think that when WordPress is not cowboy coded, when it has a clean architecture, when there's thoughtful use of plugins, you can get the best authoring experience. And I will die on that hill. And I do every day that I'm selling it, but it just takes so much to get them to understand. And, I've sold other sites on other CMSs and then been the same person that's like, see, we ran into the issue, and then we go to a WordPress site, and just that open source, I own it, I can move it philosophy is truly what makes WordPress different. And I love that aspect about the community. I said I grew up in church. There's a lot of elements of church and that I see in WordPress, which I love, the supporting nature, the inclusivity. But I think at times that open source philosophy and inclusivity mindset, and we got to design for everyone, we got to build for everyone, you end up building for nobody, and it becomes very muddy, the message and the ecosystem, and people check out because these other platforms are they're leaning deeper into their convictions. It's clearer who it's for. And guys like me have to kind of filter everything and convince people to build on this platform and that it's still viable. Is really my main message, and I get into that in a lot of specific ways. But I'll also say, like, I don't know. I know there's a couple key figures in the WordPress community to look up to. I'm a product of a mentor. I really don't know who specifically to look up to in this community. I love the, being able to contribute to WP Core and the positive effects of those principles and philosophies. But I find it very difficult to have like a Steve Jobs figure, or to have a Toby from Shopify figure to really lead some of these discussions. Like I truly don't know. It feels like people come in, they get their money, and they leave and sell to private equity. And I've been in this world for 20 years, and I couldn't tell you who's on the Mount Rushmore of WordPress having these hard discussions. Maybe it's the product of me not getting involved as much, but I only see the negative headlines on.
Yeah. So it's obviously. Yeah, you obviously going to PressConf is going to be great for you. You get to meet a bunch of other WordPress people there, because if they saw this, they're going to come at you and say, "Hey, please, let's have a discussion," which will be good, and it'll be a great, benefit for you. I've been saying for years now that Automattic needs to have some kind of product person. Your example of like a Steve Jobs or a Toby from Shopify, makes total sense. There needs to be that person who is, leading the product vision, but also is not the owner of the company. So there needs to be that sort of like separation there, and I do believe that. So yeah, it's definitely tough. The community has a lot of great community leaders, for what it's worth, and they're all sort of leading in their own sort of like pocket of like whatever it is in the community. Could be core contributions, could be design, could be someone who works at Automattic, could be somebody who works at a hosting company. There's a lot of them, and there's not just, it doesn't funnel to just one person, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, not unfortunately, it's good and bad. I mean, there's a give and take there. Wrapping it up here, maybe just maybe in the presentations that you give, maybe we just move, instead of saying WordPress is a starting point, you slide it to the end and you say, this is the enterprise. If you want total customization, WordPress is way up here. And if you want like quick and fast, it's Webflow and then, or Framer, Webflow, and then WordPress, or whatever the stack is. And maybe that sort of positioning and packaging of WordPress flips the perception of WordPress in the future. No one ever says, oh boy, give me Salesforce. But they know it's, like the biggest thing and the most enterprise thing that they can possibly get. But certainly no one ever starts with, give me Salesforce. So maybe that's where we end up in a few years here at WordPress.
Yeah, no, for sure. I need ammo, I guess, on the front lines of building WordPress sites and advocating for it. Right now, I feel like I'm hitting a 2005 Honda Civic with 205,000 miles and be like, this baby's got 100,000 more miles in it.
Yeah.
And I think, going back to the Shopify example, Shopify has like $20 a month plans and like $50,000 a month plans. They kind of take that approach. It's like, this piece is for everybody. This is what you get. And then if you want, I forget what it's called, Shopify VIP or something, it's like exponentially more complex and packaged, and the services are positioned that way, and it's coming from the brand itself, and then the ecosystem revolves around that. And right now it feels a little like the Wild West, and I think there's just so much opportunity. I believe in this ecosystem. The people that I've met in WordPress have been great to me. I'll continue to advocate for it. I want to be a part of the solution. To me, I feel like saying the hard truths is like the way that I can be a part of the solution. Sometimes you don't know what to do until you all agree on the problem. That's what I'm hoping to challenge. I'm hoping for people to challenge me and just share what I'm seeing with these startups, and kind of I hope to walk away with like some ammo to better have these tough conversations and see WordPress grow.
He's Anthony Ferrara. You can find him at oxy.co. He'll be at PressConf giving a presentation. Do you know the name of your talk yet, or are you still working on the title?
As of now, it's WordPress has a low birth rate problem.
WordPress has a low birth rate problem. Check it out. I am 99.99% sure it's going to be a packed house for your talk. And that's one of the great things about PressConf. Go to pressconf.events, April 8th through the 11th. Get your tickets. One of the best things about PressConf are the talks are not recorded, and everyone's encouraged. There's only one track. There's only one stage, one track. It's not 3 different talks going on at once. You meet your friends out in the lobby. You hit the snack shack. You go and you see Anthony's talk. You break from the talk, and then you find Anthony. You either chase him out of the Tempe hotel that we're at, or you give him a big hug and you say, great, thanks for the insights, and figure out how to work together. PressConf.events, April 8th through the 11th. Anthony, thanks for hanging out today.
Thank you.